Welcome to White Label American Podcast. This is a podcast that brings you bold, in-depth interviews with interesting people that are mostly immigrants taking down artificial walls one story at a time. This is a podcast that empowers immigrants to share their stories and listen to those of others. Thank you for joining us. Welcome to another episode of White Label American. Thank you all for joining us today. And if you haven't, please subscribe to the show. Leave us a 5-star rating. Helps us grow. So we appreciate that for those of you who've done that before. And if you've left us a rating, you can always leave us a new rating. It also helps us with our growth. We are an indie podcast, so it's very helpful to us and in this market. However, you're not here for my voice. You're here for the person whose voice you'll be hearing very soon. And you've heard his voice before in episodes 166 and 167. He's an architect, he's a comic book artist, and a painter. Obinna Elechi. He was born and lived in Nigeria before he moved to Holland, and then he arrived in the United States. So for a briefing look, intake into his earlier beginnings and then the present, go to episodes 166 and 167 to get familiarize yourself. You can start there. Or if you want to start here and then go over there, that works too. So with that being said, welcome to the show. How you doing today, my brother?
Good. Thank you. How are you?
I'm well. We have a little snow out there. It's not as crazy as last week, but by the time people will be listening to this episode, there might probably be no snow.
Right.
So, but who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows? So, last time you were here, you shared your childhood memory.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm still going to ask you again. As of today, what's your favorite childhood memory? We'll start with that.
It might be different now, but
that's why I'm asking.
I think it's probably still going to the village with my to go and visit grandparents and see family and whenever we had a chance. Those are some of the most fond memories I have. And then
and which village? Because your parents are from two different cities and nearby states, but
honestly, two of them they're very different. My dad's side, our village that's my paternal village where we're from. It's closer to Port Harcourt, and that we would go there more often, but my mom's side was farther away. It used to be like a maybe 2-hour drive, and then, but when the way the roads are now, it might be 4 hours.
That's a good point.
But my mom's side, the village there, one thing that when you're a kid you don't necessarily appreciate is the type of earth that is there is very different from the one that is in the village of my dad's side. It was almost like redder earth.
Yeah.
And it was much hillier as well. And so the landscape there and the terrain was very different from what we were used to in my dad's side, which is very flat. So they were I really liked them for two different reasons. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's a great point. You don't really appreciate stuff like that, but it's like when I lived in Benin City and Benin soil is much redder, and I moved to Ibadan in my early teens, and the soil in Ibadan is considered harder, and when the older you get, then you start noticing stuff like that.
Exactly.
It was the texture of the soil when you play with it.
Exactly.
It felt a lot different, coarse and all that.
Exactly.
So yeah, it's stuff that when you have access to it all the time.
Exactly.
It
Exactly.
feels like you don't feel anything about it. When you go somewhere else and then
you think back,
you start touching something that's like, why is your soil not like
Exactly.
the soil that I'm used to all the time?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, fun fact: it was your childhood memory that you shared previously was a different one.
Okay.
But let me see if I would jog your memory.
Okay.
So, do you search out items such as St. Louis sugar, the cube, or you had shared before how big of an impact stuff like that, served to you. So do you search them out since they were some of your first creative, these first outlets that you use for expressing your creative ideas? Do you search them out today?
So that to that point, I was trying to figure out if I said it was like making random things or or village. Either one could be, but I think
there's no right or wrong answer to
yeah.
that question. It's not a trick question.
Yeah. So for that one, the blue sugar cube boxes. That one we used to play counter ball. Basically, you take off the caps.
I got in trouble for playing counter ball.
Exactly.
One over religious teacher one time.
Oh, what was the issue with it?
I think I was in JSS 2, and I organized the tournament. So we each person who was participating in the tournament, we all designed, we all allocated, we all had countries as our teams, and during lunchtime, it was like first to 2 goals or 3-1, and it was like a knockout, and then whoever got to the final wins the World Cup. That's how so each person will have, I think it was 5 or 6 or something like that. On how our desks were, so it's not like that wide desk that we had. It's not that wide a desk that we had, and so we do the counter ball, set up the goal,
exactly.
And draw, do the markings, use a chalk to set up everything, draw the field, and we started with the counters, the tops, the
bottle caps,
the caps for the bottles. That's what we started with at first. And if we didn't have enough caps, then we would use coins.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, like the 1 naira. But then we still had 1 naira and coins. So they were thick enough to use, and you could flip them.
I see.
So we'll wrap them all with paper, but you design your paper as jerseys, and that's when jerseys just started having numbers, so you could number each
one
counter, each player, and that's how. So it was colorful. It was quite creative, and sometimes you have somebody having a team of just coins, but all wrapped up in paper, and this over religious teacher was walking by. She saw that somebody was, she noticed, like she stood and watched us playing, and then she realized that it was coins that we're using to play. And she said, "You're using money to play, so you must be gambling."
Okay.
And he said, "No, it's not gambling. We're just playing counter soccer." And she said, "No,
gambling
that's gambling because it's money involved." Exactly. We didn't even know what gambling was. So she They said, who's the ringleader?
Uh-huh.
And, as far as Kane is involved, people started turning on, and
Of
that's how they
course.
turned on the person who organized it. And, people pointed me out.
Of
And,
course.
because she said somebody's going to get suspended or expelled.
Right,
And as
right.
far as the word expelled was mentioned, no, nobody wanted to take the bullets from me, no matter how popular I was. So
Everyone
they were
starts
like,
pointing fingers.
It's him. So they dragged me to the teachers' staff room, whatever they call it, and they had me kneeling down there for like almost 2 hours.
Of course.
And we must confess to gambling. I didn't know what gambling meant, so I'm there. And after 2 hours, I guess she tried to convince some other teachers I was gambling, but it didn't make sense. I don't even know what gambling meant, so I didn't know what to say. I guess if they had me to sign a confession, I just didn't know what it
What it was.
I didn't know what to sign. I didn't know what to say. So I guess whoever the person they called to come, she said whatever she wanted to say. I guess they read me and said, this one doesn't even know what he's talking about. So it doesn't make sense to
punish him for gambling.
So they were just like, I think they took the coins from me. That was the craziest thing. It was like 5 naira or 6 naira back then. So what you do with my money? So you stole my money.
That's theft.
Yeah, so now you committed a crime.
Exactly.
You're accusing me of gambling.
Exactly.
So that's how we stopped playing counter soccer in school. But we played after school. Go find an empty classroom. One person will be on the lookout for a teacher. Which I'm like, look at what you encouraged.
Right. Exactly.
But we were creative though, because we were trying to design jerseys that we saw on TV, on those little counters.
Exactly.
We're trying to do that.
Exactly.
And then sometimes we won't be creating our own jerseys too. But with time to eventually, I think one time we got caught again by the vice principal, and he loved to flog people. Yeah.
Oh wow! No,
So
that's
we got like
that's
I
how it
think
used to be.
6-7 strokes, and that guy could flog the hell out of you. So after that, we started sitting down in class like.
yeah.
Yeah. So.
No, that I think when we were kids, like doing. So those sugar cube boxes, that used to be our goalpost.
Yeah, the goalpost. Yeah,
And
you
then-
fold it.
Exactly. Then one person will be the Sprite team, the other person will be the Coke or Fanta team.
Yeah,
Things like that.
Yeah, that's what it started out as, and I just got the idea one day. Like I don't. Somebody else you wrapped them up as one will be wrapped completely with paper,
Right.
and would be white. But if you flipped, there's a way you could flip it with your finger, and they will move fast on a smoother surface. And just why would all of them just be wrapped up in white paper? Why don't we just take a colored marker and just paint?
Exactly.
And that's how we add numbers, and from numbers you paint the numbers. And from painting the numbers you add extra.
Yeah.
And I like the West Germany's jersey with the triangular shapes.
Yeah.
So from there, before and I didn't understand that I was being creative. So, but until you got beat out of me.
Yeah. That's different times. Very different times.
But man, it was good. It was good while it lasted.
Yes.
But, yeah. So, do you have you bought the St. Louis sugar as an adult?
No. What I mean, any time we're home, obviously I see it, and it's like, okay, that's the memories are still there.
Yeah.
But as an adult, I haven't bought that yet.
Because I thought with in your neighborhood, you're closer to some of the West African stores.
Yeah. I haven't actually in some of the local stores that I go to. Like, I don't know that I've seen that blue cube box like that. That's a good point. I need to keep my eye out.
I know I've seen it once. I know a few years ago I did buy it once. I saw it. I think the first time I saw it, I just bought it for the sake of
nostalgia.
I was telling my wife like, oh look, this is the only thing we consider as sugar.
Exactly.
Back in the days, so it was.
Sometimes you open it and see ants breakdancing, breakdancing inside.
Yeah, it was after that it became mandatory that before you buy a box, a pack, you got to open it and
check.
and check. Are there ants in it?
Exactly.
Otherwise, you don't want to get home and there are ants.
Just ants inside
the
whole
ants
thing.
inside. But
Yeah.
yep, that's how the kid got to learn back then. Reliving some childhood memories, right?
Yeah.
So, let me see. Oh, there was one question that I forgot to ask when I had the three of you here. Yourself, Grace, and Amir. I've gotten to ask Grace that question separately. So before I keep going, I should ask you this question.
Okay.
In your own words, what is art? Or how do you define art?
Whew. That's a good question. I almost don't feel qualified to answer that question, but I think it's if I had to summarize it, I think if you have a voice of some sort, or you want to ask questions about the things that you see and express them, however that may be, then to me that's art. So I think sometimes even scientists could be artists, depending on what they're looking at, how they're looking at the world. They might be asking questions about the nature of the universe, but they're tools to filter that and show the world what they're thinking about. Through, I don't know exactly what scientists do, but the equations or whatever scientists do.
Yep.
And then they try and express or simplify how they look at the world or questions they're asking about the world. So I think it's very broad. In my opinion, it's basically it's a way of looking at the world and observing the world and then putting things out about the world. So scientists, painters, architects, business people, in my opinion, could be an art form. So in my mind, it's a range of things.
I agree. It's a range. It's a question that I like to ask. I've had owners of art galleries here. I've had different types of artists in the studio and art curators. And it's fascinating when I've asked that question, the range of answers that I've gotten. Yeah, there's similarities in all the answers.
I see.
And it's one of those questions that there's no right or wrong way to answer it, because it deals with, I think in the answer, it always deals with a worldview of an individual and like you pointed out, people, like how someone views and asks questions. So it's a form of, I've seen the world, and then I'm asking questions through a form of expression. So, it's yours might be the most. I would say yours might be one of the most standout answers in a way, because 4 or 5 answers I've gotten have almost been the exact same, even though none of the people know themselves, because they tend, because I've had a comic book street graffiti artist, an art curator, gallery owner, and even Grace said the same thing in a different way, but they all came to the same conclusion of it just is something art has to it draws an expression. If it doesn't make, or if it's something that draws an expression, but it's how they framed it, And I was like, okay, you all literally said the same thing. So but the asking a question, I think that's where yours differs from the answers that have been given. So it's an important question to ask, and I always love hearing the answers
Awesome.
that come out from it. So it was. I think I'd written it in my first draft for you, Amir, and Grace, and then I forgot to add it to my second draft, my final draft, and I was like, oh yeah, I'll remember, and then I completely just forgot. I was like, after the record, I was like, oh man,
Yeah.
and I had three of you here. That would have been great to compare the answers because it's just like the childhood memory question. I believe it's something that you get different answers on different days.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So, and you're right too. So scientists, different business. It's not just limited to only people in who identify as artists.
Exactly. Exactly.
It cuts into different fields and sectors of life.
Exactly. Exactly. No, that's a good question.
Yeah. Thank you. So, wait, I don't recall if you had told me if you spoke Dutch or not.
So it's very rusty now, but yes, I think if I went back to Holland and did a full year immersion, it would come back. But it's rusty now.
Oh, you haven't been practicing. You haven't been using it since you moved.
Yeah, that's the main thing. I'm in a group chat with there was a group of us who went to school in Nigeria. Three of us are Nigerian. Well, four of us are Nigerian, and then one of our friend is Dutch. We're in a group chat, and I'll randomly throw out Dutch phrases just to like brush up and and confirm if it's right or anything like that. But yeah, it's weird. I think it sounds cliche, but I feel like one of the best ways that we learned Dutch was from movie subtitles and TV show subtitles, and that actually sticks more in your head. And then in school, there was mandatory to, in terms of the foreign languages that you took, you had to take Dutch.
Dutch, okay.
As one language.
Okay.
But it's still there. I feel like it's still there. It just needs to be awakened by practice.
Yeah.
Which I haven't been doing.
I know that people from Suriname, have gotten to that place in that part of the world, they also speak Dutch. So you might need to be connected to those communities.
Exactly.
Get some friends from there.
Exactly.
It might help you with your Dutch game.
Right. It's interesting. I think it's not like French where where you can find French in the Haitian community if and
a lot of
Dutch
African
is very specific to Holland, like except for like the Surinamese community that would speak that. But yeah, I think I just need practice.
You do.
That's it.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah,
that's true. It's only Netherlands. There's no. Well, there might be some Dutch Belgians too, right?
Right. South Africa. I mean, Afrikaans is a version of that.
A version.
Yeah.
It's like a slight variation of Dutch too.
But yeah, the Dutch Belgians speak that as well.
That's like they're large in numbers.
Exactly.
You have to join a meetup. Start going to events at the Dutch embassy.
Exactly.
And then Netflix might help you with the rest.
That's true, actually.
Yeah.
I watch Dutch TV shows.
Yeah, I don't think I know any Dutch TV shows or Dutch stuff, to be honest. So, what city did you live in over there again?
A small town called Assen in the the north of Holland. And
that's the name of the football team too, right?
Exactly, yeah. FC Assen.
FC Assen,
yeah. There were we played football for like there are different leagues, and then as you get younger and smaller, like for kids and stuff like that, we played like as part of a local team and all that. But looking back, I don't think I realized like just how small the town was. but it was pretty small. And then we went to secondary school in another city that was close by, bigger city called Groningen. That's maybe another
Oh, that starts
30
with a
minutes.
G.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
I know that's one true.
Ah.
Well, okay, so I've been pronouncing it wrong because you pronounce it the real Dutch way, and I was like, wait a minute. Okay,
It's guttural language.
Yeah.
Very guttural language. Yeah.
okay.
But yeah, Assen
Assen.
was where we lived.
I didn't realize I still remember a lot of Dutch football clubs. I was really one time so crazy about football. Yeah, I did follow football a lot. I still do,
Yeah.
but it's no longer as I'm more into African football now
Yeah.
than
Yeah.
European. But I still know my European football.
Right.
Put it that way.
Right.
I just know European, South American because was it last month? Yeah, I was with my friend in New York, NYU, and he has mostly South American, immigrant kids in his class that he teaches. He invited me to come check out some projects of his kids.
Okay.
And one of the kids was from Chile. Yeah, Chile, and he found out I like football, so he was trying to mention European teams. I'm like, I know them, but I was like, what about the teams in your country? And I don't think you know them. I mentioned a few. Like, oh wow, that was rare. That's rare. I'm like, yeah, I used to back in the days. We had a program that showed South American football highlights. He was like, oh wow,
Nice,
okay,
nice.
oh wow, okay, wow. You just saw the smile on his face. I'm like, yeah. It's not like I'm trying to brag, but you guys got some good stuff too.
No doubt.
So don't always feel like you have to start with you start with yours too.
Exactly.
Let people, it's okay. I just feel happy for a second. Like somebody knows what I got too.
Exactly. That's always good when someone feels like you can connect with them with something that.
Yeah. So I was like, I'm good, man. You feel good? I feel good.
Yeah.
So, having lived in Port Harcourt, let me see. Let me see if I can say that. Groningen. Groningen. The full spelling is in my head, so I'm going just literally. But Groningen. I'm not even going to try the first. Iron. Yeah.
Assen.
Yeah. And now Brooklyn. Where do you consider home to be, and how do you find community?
That's a very good question. So for me, Nigeria is still home. Even though, and my brother and my sister and I, we talk about this a lot with, so that my group of friends that are in that group chat, the three who are Nigerian as well, we have this conversation sometimes about and I just found out like maybe a couple years ago, my sister was telling me about the phenomenon known as third culture kids.
Oh yeah.
I didn't know about that.
I have somebody with a podcast that deals specifically with third culture kids. She's Brazilian Egyptian, born in France.
Yeah. So that's a good question, and it's at this point I've lived in the U.S. longer than I've lived anywhere else, and I've lived in New York City longer than I've lived anywhere else. But in my heart, Nigeria is still home.
Okay.
And I don't know how else to explain that. It just feels like that's where my roots are, even though it's getting, over time it gets harder and harder to like stay connected, and I think that's part of why some of the work I'm doing in art and the comic book stuff is exploring that stuff to better understand it. But it's you feel kind of like you're in in the middle of, you're just a person sometimes without necessarily a place that you can say, okay, this is who I am exactly, because somebody can be more Nigerian than you, somebody can be more American than you, or more Dutch or Egyptian or whatever than you, and but for me, Nigeria is still home, warts and all. So but yeah, I think what that, having lived in those different places, what that has, I think, helped is being adaptable and flexible, and open to change, and open to, if you have to make moves suddenly, you know how to adapt, and you're more accepting of it than say maybe someone who has been in a place for 20 years, which, not saying anything that people who have been in a place for 20 years aren't adaptable, but I think for me at least, I think that plays into being open to change.
So how did you find community then?
I think just,
And if I may add, is your community limited to Nigerians, or is your community broad where you are?
I would say it's broad, and one of the things that I hang on to a lot, which is art and design. That has been that's been like both my interest and the way I think I've made community with different groups and different people, and so that brings in people from all kinds of different backgrounds, but that's been the most consistent way, I think, that I've made community, through a lot of that. And I think, like, just my interests in art and design, that has helped that a lot. So
Hey, that's, keep it simple,
Yeah.
but it's still niche at the same time.
yeah, which exactly. Yeah, I that's the best way I can summarize it. Yeah.
So do you see yourself going back to Nigeria anytime in the future?
Yeah.
Like moving back?
Ideally, I want to be a bi-coastal person, but live half here, half there. Not money.
That can be rectified,
Yeah.
It's, it depends on you.
Yeah.
Because it depends on, like me, if I make, if I kiss a certain ring or rings, there's certain money issues that will just disappear.
Go away.
Before I'm managing director at one
XYZ.
parastatal, or at NDDC or something like that. And it doesn't matter if I'm really showing up to work or
Yeah.
not. Old sins are forgiven.
Yeah.
Right? So I'm not the worst to have said anything
Right.
critical or any critique of the system. I'm just gonna be good.
Yeah.
Wearing agbada and coming to work.
No
That's
doubt.
all.
No doubt.
So money is not really. If it's money, it can really be. It can disappear like that.
Right.
If you're willing.
Yeah.
If you want to.
No, one thing I do. There are a number of like art festivals especially in Lagos.
Yeah.
That I'm very interested in getting involved in, and art residencies in Lagos as well. That I've been looking at and reaching out to and all of that, just because there's a lot at home that I haven't explored yet, and there's so much opportunity at home. Even in architecture, there are a lot of Nigerian architects who are doing amazing things right now, and I think that's a field that would be very, very good for Nigeria, just for basics.
Yeah.
So those two are interesting to me in terms of how to like get back home and start.
So
How do these things I've learned so far, how can they now be like implemented in practice at home?
So will you be willing to move family, or would if an opportunity were to arise, would you be willing to move family, or will you just go by yourself and then come visit family?
It might be that one. It might be that one. But yeah, if it's an opportunity to move family, like I would take it if everything is like aligned properly.
And it sounds like you would do Lagos,
Yeah.
not your neck of the woods.
I have family there. It's not Port Harcourt. Port Harcourt was closer to my neck of the woods, but but I would start in Lagos. Not to say that that's the only city I would, obviously Port Harcourt as well, but because I'm more familiar with it, and I have family that's close there and all of that. So between Lagos and Port Harcourt.
Not Abuja. You don't want to be in Wike City.
I don't have anything. It's not that I have anything against Abuja. I have family there as well, but yeah. I mean, I haven't thought about it as a place where I would go necessarily, but I mean, Abuja is very nice. It's
federal capital. So it gotta be nice. That's where the money is.
That's where the money goes.
The money goes.
Yeah,
the money goes there.
Yeah,
No, I hear you on that. I just don't like Lagos, to be honest. I've never liked Lagos, but it's the closest place to civilization. That's how I put it. So, but I wish a lot more places will kind of do something and realize that there's potentials to challenge Lagos.
Right.
Easily. But anyway, I'm not gonna go on that.
Yeah.
But that's good. But for architecture, that's a field that can actually isolate itself from some of the yama. For those who don't understand, that's the on your own. Okay? So it can actually exist as on its professionalism in the Nigerian space, and there's so much room for architecture to bring a lot of great things within that into that country, and so I get your point and your point of view. So it's just great that you're looking into that.
No, it's like there are a number of Nigerian architects who are based in Nigeria, and the work they're doing it's world-class stuff they're doing at home. There's this one architect, her name is Tosin Oshunowo, and she has a practice in Lagos, and she has also like curated shows in the Middle East, in London, in Lagos, in Nigeria. She's built projects in Nigeria as well, and I think that potential to use architecture to improve the built environment and what that can do for people's dignity and how they feel about where they live and all of that. The potential for that is boundless in my opinion. So
I second
that has always been in the back of my head, and for a long time, and I only feel like now I'm like, okay, I think I'm at a point where, you know, I could, with networks that I have as well, navigate what that could look like, to look at practice back home.
Hi, everyone. If you're new to the podcast or a returning listener and you enjoy what we are doing here, did you know that you could enjoy more of our content and also support our work via Patreon? For as little as $3 per month, you get access to loads of bonus content that you'll find nowhere and be the first to the latest news. Don't miss out. Go to patreon.com/White Label American Pod or just search for White Label American Podcast on Patreon. Patreon. So if I may ask, are you looking to set up your own practice or are you looking to start under someone's practice first, get a lay of the land, then move on to your own practice eventually?
So right now I'm at a firm in New York, in Manhattan, and our profession in this country is plagued with all kinds of problems, but this is the first place that I've worked at in the architectural profession that feels like it treats people like human beings, because architecture has unnecessarily long hours, and sometimes necessarily, sometimes you have to hustle to get things out in any field.
Yeah.
But the culture of architecture in this country, I think it for a long time has been, just abusive, to say the least. So to answer your question about setting up a practice or working at a place, it might be both. Finding ways, like whether it's through art or like other projects, doing things, but also working at a place as well, to sort of like have connections between the two. But,
so how does the culture in architecture, how does the culture of architecture here differ from the culture of architecture in somewhere like Nigeria?
So I haven't practiced in Nigeria, so I'm not sure, but I think,
Well, from what you've heard,
from what I've seen and heard, it's comparable. Just, if I start with the culture of architecture here, a lot of the time it's been long hours, and that's sort of the expectation. People sometimes are expected to work weekends and may or may not get like overtime and things like that. And then on top of that, for the longest time, the idea of architects forming a union to sort of push back at employers who may not necessarily be taking the employees' best interests at heart, that idea was fantasy. But that's happening now, and I think it's a post-pandemic thing that has started, because we're seeing more people unionize in general.
Yeah.
In the U.S., but there's another friend of mine who we both went to architecture school together, and we both said we never thought we'd see the day when architects started to unionize. So architects are now unionizing, but instead of doing it through like architectural institutions like, the American Institute of Architects, they're having to go to like a mechanics union, to unionize through them, because the industry, in my opinion, is very, a lot of people will tell you it's broken, kind of, and that like mentality of it's an old, like it's almost like a 20th century model of work and how the design business is structured. So I think a lot of places now are trying to like move away from that model of working, because people are tired. People have options now. Someone will rather, like, if it doesn't serve them, they'll be in a place for 6 months and move. Even if it, more and more, you're seeing people's resumes where they're not staying at places long just because there are options. They can move.
Which used to be rare for architects.
Yeah,
to move
like
that.
you would see previously, like, people would stay at a place for 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, whatever, before they move to a place. But now it's like people will stay a year, 2 years,
And
like,
they're gone.
and if it doesn't serve them, they move on. Or if they find a place that's more interesting or pays more or whatever, they'll move, which is good. Like, people should have options to do that kind of thing, especially if there's a bad culture that, generally speaking, that doesn't reward the people who are, designing these spaces, working on all the complex parts that go into making buildings. That it's a lot of effort that goes into that, and a lot of thought that goes into that, and to not treat people well for that, like, people will go elsewhere. People will just go elsewhere.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right, though. It's not just all in the architecture space. It's a symptom of the pandemic.
Right.
I won't say symptom. It's a reality of the pandemic and a reaction of, I would say, more of a reaction from the pandemic. And,
Exactly.
people realizing that they have options now. And yeah. So thank you for breaking that down and pointing that out. So another thing I would like to touch on is you are a dad. I don't know if you have more kids or you'll be in those single club like myself. So becoming a dad, how has your multicultural upbringing shaped your parenting and marital journey? Has that been expressed in your art or inspired any projects?
Very, very good question.
I try.
It's I would say nothing prepares you for becoming a parent. That's what I found out. You can do all the prep and all of that, but nothing prepares you for being a parent. And in terms of multicultural background, I think it's again, it's like teaching me to be open to everything. That I would say is the is what my experience growing up in different places with different types of people is just meet people where they are and find people who connect with you and be flexible, because there are some days where you're running after a kid who's trying to put his hand in the inside the socket or cat food, water and food, and it's just be patient and be open, like, this is part of it, and be flexible to adapt. So I think my, if I had to say anything about that, my background growing up and like being ready to like change and move soon, I think that subconsciously helps with patience sometimes. So that's
So
that's how that
have you
helps.
expressed any of that in your artwork or inspired any of your projects?
There is a piece that I haven't started working on that. I want to work on that. That involves something with my son and my wife.
Okay.
but I haven't started on it yet.
So it's
So
it's
it's
in the
in
works.
here somewhere.
Okay. It's in the works.
Yeah.
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 It's yeah, you're right about becoming a dad, a parent.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm a member of the Park Slope Parents.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think almost every dad I've met in that group, except for same-sex parents. Those of us in the what's this word escape my mind? Um, what are we called? Those of us married to the regular type of marriages or regular relationships.
Like cisgender or
Yeah, yeah. It's usually the wife that got us to sign up for something like that.
I see.
And it doesn't matter which black, white, whichever. Most of us is the wife that found the
group.
Park Slope Parents, and that's how we ended up there. So before our kid was born, there was a group. Well, there's the group still there. There's a group that they have that where expecting dads can get to interact with new dads and experienced dads. And, I went to that meeting. I didn't really have questions, but a lot of expecting dads like, well, how do I know? What did I take to the hospital on that day? I don't know. I get it right. And all the new dads were like, man, the hospital got you, man. You're going you panic, you do all that. I did the same thing, but you'll be fine. You won't get it wrong. The experienced dads were just like, man, look, this guy had a 15-year-old kid. It's like, dude, man, you'll be fine. And I went to the meeting like twice, and I was like, I ain't coming again. Because I saw the dads, and it just seemed like people were panicking, and they were panicking. I was like, I don't need to panic, man. It's okay, because everybody's telling me I'll be okay. But they weren't saying don't be responsible. Don't take your responsibilities seriously. Don't be there for your partner. And I think that just calmed me down. But I saw the other dads, which I'm not saying if that's your thing, if that's the way you keep yourself going, they're fine. But I think after just one or two meetings, seeing all the other dads, some asked great questions. And okay, if that was something I need to write it down. But I just felt in a good place.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, so I guess I've been doing it right.
Yeah. No.
Okay, so after we had our kid, I started going to the meetings, and now I'm the guy answering
Questions.
the new dad's questions.
No doubt.
So usually there weren't black dads there or black expecting, but there was one day I went and there was a black guy who showed up among the new guys, and he was that guy who was asking questions. So I answered, and there was even one day I clashed with one of the newer dads, and because I was talking about how hospitals don't listen to black moms, they don't listen to women, black women in general.
Yep.
Pain, and the guy, I guess he works in the hospital in administration, and
I see.
took the offense. I'm like, I wasn't called. I didn't even know that. I don't know, but I'm not. If the shoe fits, fine. But that's not why I'm here. You know, I'm just telling all of you, be there for your partner. If she says she's in pain, you feel the staff's not listening, tell them, go get another staff. But be there, be her voice. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
And that guy turned it into a fight. And I was like, man, I ain't here for you. So after the meeting, the black guy came to me. I was like, oh, man, thank you for saying that. I didn't know all that. So I sent him some articles.
Yeah.
Like, okay, read all this, read up on that. Wish you the best. And he never showed up to a meeting after that. I think a few years later I was seeing him because I had forgotten about him, and he reminded me about that day. And I saw his kid. I was like, okay, so you made it.
Nice.
The kid didn't die.
Yeah.
So you're doing good.
Keep them alive. That's your only job.
So now I have my English cousin in London, and I have a nephew, and they're both young men in their 20s. Talking about, they don't think about being a dad and all that. To me, I'm like, hey, you're too young. But if you really want to go that route, let them know, like, hey, man, yeah, I was 38 when I became a dad, but that don't mean you must wait to be 38, But I start letting them know certain things, how your woman's body will change, all that, throw all the information at them.
Right.
But I don't just say I'm trying to scare you. It's not a matter of scaring you. But one of them is like, oh, I've saved this amount of money before I become a dad and all this. I'm done with preparation. I'm like, that's great. You are way ahead of where I was.
Yeah.
You are way ahead of many men that I know. So I'll applaud you on that.
Yeah.
However, there's still things that will come
Exactly.
that will surprise you.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
it's not about reading a textbook. It's not about watching movies or watching. I sent me a video one time. It was a great video of 4 black dads having a conversation on how they were raising their kids, and they were all different guys, different background. One married a woman with 3 kids. He took them all as his. And it was a fantastic conversation. I loved it until the end, where one of them said, had a problem with the other one, allowing the step kids call him dad. And he's like, oh no, I'll never allow my kid cannot call another man a daddy, their daddy. And that was like, well, this was so great.
Oh, wow.
Well, I asked him what he learned from that, and he was like, he didn't see why that should bring a fight.
Okay.
That kind of thing. So it was interesting seeing where he's going with all this.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I like that you were really spending the time watching stuff like that and learning. That don't mean it's going to be exactly the template, because it's a little human being that's coming.
Yeah.
And your partner, hopefully, she doesn't have a complicated pregnancy. It's different for everybody.
Yeah.
So whatever comes, just be prepared. Number one job for you is be the number one cheerleader. That's your number one task. And whatever comes, you go with it. Just be prepared to go with it. That's all I'll tell you. I'll keep repeating it.
Yeah.
You call me as many times as you want, but that's what I'll tell you. And once that baby pops out, your life ain't going to be the same again.
No,
it ain't going to be the same,
absolutely.
But it's love at first sight. Go with it. And he's like, all right, I got it, man. I'm ready. I'm ready. I said, be ready. Stay ready. Stay ready. But at the same time, I always tell people this when it comes to parenting. I think it was after my kid was born, after a few months, I think by the time she was a year, I think I began to have empathy for people who abandon kids. I understood it. Yeah. I think I finally got it. Yeah, I finally got it because, growing up in Nigeria and all that, I understood the pressure. Like my nephew now, he going through that because he has his first big job.
Okay.
As soon as he got that job, everybody's just go get married, have babies immediately. He hasn't been in the job for up to a month, and he started calling me, telling me, man, everybody telling me,
pressure,
go get married, start making babies. He hasn't even had a girlfriend in his life, and that was the first thing people were just throwing at him.
Yeah.
And when you look back in the days, you don't know how many people have been in the same position, never dated in their lives, but as soon as they just had one thing going good for them, go get married, have babies, it's going to be good, and that. You don't know what's coming, and bam, the kid pops up, and it's like, woof, what am I doing? Oh, everything's going to be fine. Well, everything's going to be fine.
Right.
And it starts to hit them like boom, 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 boom. Some people got choked up.
Yeah.
It's overwhelming.
Yeah.
And when you're not prepared, you don't know what's hitting you. I got it.
Yeah.
I was not like 100% prepared.
Yeah.
But I wanted to be there. I said, this is what I want. So even when it felt like I was being overwhelmed, I was like, this is what I want. So I'm here for it.
Yeah.
So that's why when I tell people, some people are like, what? You mean you okay with people abandoning kids? I said, no, that's not what I'm saying. But I said I can empathize with them. I understand now why people would choose to abandon kids. Because if you look at a lot of the stories that I know, especially from back home, you see that there's always people who abandon kids, and then if you look at, they will later remarry in life, and they treated the next family right. They were much better parents.
Exactly.
It's like they had.
Because you mature.
They matured, but it was that pressure is no longer there.
Yeah. So
that's why I tell people, like, man, I got it.
And I think that's like it's unfortunate that there sometimes, whether it's not like even in Nigerian culture, that pressure is there generally. Just like I go and start a family, like. these are the steps. But it's like, the more I think about it now, just trying to, having, our son who's already like 16 months now. It felt like I literally remember the day he was born, like
I
it was
remember mine,
yesterday.
too. Mhm.
But more and more, I feel like choosing to have a child is like choosing to run a marathon.
That's a good way of saying
It because on the one hand, you can say, why would you choose to run a marathon? Why would you put yourself through running 22 point whatever miles
Uh-huh.
just cause,
And
but
it's expensive too.
right. And choosing to run a marathon doesn't necessarily make you better than other people. You just choose to do it.
Yeah.
You choose your choice, whatever that is. And I think that's very, for me, that analogy is very close to the choosing to have a child. Is you choose your choice. You want to explore this path. And the challenges of running a marathon, at some point you will get tired, but you have to keep going.
That's right.
You're sweating, you have to keep going.
That's right.
You may slow down and walk some of it because your body is just saying, nah, I can't.
Yep.
But you keep going. And to me, that's what it's like. That, at least that's what I'm learning right now, is like, being a parent, choosing to have a child is like choosing the choice to run a marathon. And it's a different sort of way of living than if you didn't, but it doesn't necessarily make you better or worse. You just chose your choice, and there are great things and challenging things that come with it.
I agree.
So
There are days where I'm like, woohoo, and there are days where I'm like, God damn, I want to run away from you. Go hide in the backyard.
No, that and I think that's. I bet some people who chose to run a marathon would say, "Why did I choose to do this again?"
You gotta ask yourself that.
It's to me, it's a very comparable like analogy, but again, for me, it's like it's also an exercise in patience in general.
It is. I don't think there's any test of patience then. Before we had our kid, there's a friend that I made who later moved to Florida, of all places. But I understand Mr. Mark, in case he listens to this episode.
No doubt.
He's a much older gentleman. Well, not that far older, but he's much older than I am. And he used to say his two greatest mistakes were his two kids. No, his two favorite mistakes. Let me rephrase that. His two favorite mistakes were his two kids.
I see. Okay.
Yeah, so greatest is still part of it, but his two greatest or favorite mistakes were his two kids. And even I met one of his kids, and he said that he repeated that in front of them. And I was fantastic girls that he has. I think one should have. I think the eldest probably finished college by now, and they were laughing, and he was like, "Oh, my dad has told you the story." And I was like, yeah. He was like, "Yeah, man, I was doing coke then. I was doing everything." And two times I said, "Okay, I'm going to mess with this woman."
Right.
The two results of my messing with this woman, hey, those are my kids. And I was like, damn, that's quite the story.
Yeah.
Like, but I don't regret it because I love them. I love those two kids.
Yes,
I love them. I ain't having no more kids, but
right.
I love them.
Right. Exactly.
And I was like, man, that's one way to phrase it. But he's clean now and all that.
Yeah.
Goodness. But I looked at it and I was like, that's he said that's my favorite mistake because I was high as hell. But never doing that again.
Yeah.
Never doing that. I was like, but you went back, you did it twice.
Yeah.
It's like, that twice is enough. I ain't doing the third time.
Yeah.
See, I only got two kids. They're grown now. It's like, okay.
Yeah.
You never made a third. Okay, that's good.
No doubt.
But Yeah, our origins all have, that's funny stuff. I interviewed my mom earlier today, and Josh was laughing because he got, if you find out myself and my mom laugh the same way. I still can't hear it, but it's like some people see me and my kid, and they're like, "Yeah, well, I see the face." I'm like, "Yeah." So, but it's a beautiful thing, and it's like running a marathon. There's times where where I do go cheer people during the New York Marathon,
Right.
and I see some people running through it, and you're like, "Woo!" I'm like, "How do you get to the end? How do you make it to the end?" Because
Exactly.
you just in Brooklyn right now. It's like that person looks like, "Oh my goodness, I'm done."
Struggle.
The struggle. I'm like, man, I don't think you're halfway, but I'm not gonna yell that. I'm just, come on, you can do it.
Exactly.
You can do it.
Exactly.
Carry on. So I think that's what I try to do when I see new parents, people like my cousin or my nephew. I just cheer them on. I'm not cheering you on to go and start having babies. There's a difference. But I cheer you on to, like, if you want to make this journey, I will cheer you on.
Yeah.
If you say, I don't want to make this journey, I will cheer you on.
Right.
And I believe people should be given that choice instead of what people were giving in the past, where it's just like, go have a baby
These are your
and everything.
options.
You'll be all right. Like, no, that's where I draw the line and say, no. Your life will be great if you choose not to have kids.
Yeah.
Your life will be great if you choose to have kids.
Right.
If because there are other options too. It doesn't mean you must go marry and then start pumping babies. You can adopt kids later on in life. My mom still has some kids which she considers hers.
Yeah.
Who are adopted kids, and one just got into college. So there are so many ways we can go about it. It doesn't mean you must, you haven't figured life for yourself. And then you're like, I'm going to knock up somebody. And then the woman is trying to figure life. You try and figure life. And then you bring a baby into the world. And then three of you try. Come on.
It's like, I think sometimes like that whole like, okay, you've done this. You have a good job. Go and find someone. Get married.
You haven't
have
even
kids.
settled in a new job, by the way. You just got a new job.
Exactly.
Today you just announced, I got a new job. Go marry, and start bringing babies.
Exactly.
I'm like
that. That type of thing, I think, is like someone sold an image of what the ideal is supposed to look like, and that's what I think a lot of people are going off of when they have kids. Is like, but there's no other frame of reference.
Yeah.
To like show the reality of it. Like, it's just pictures you see and images you see, or like snippets you see of other people's lives, and that's it. When you're in it, it's like a marathon. There are highs, there are lows, but
That's
it's still a
race.
it's still a race and a path. It's like some Jedi stuff. Like you chose this path. Like people choose to become monks.
That's
Why
right.
would you choose to do that? Like you chose a path.
It's a path.
Yeah.
That's right.
So yeah,
we could go on that.
for sure.
But I also need to find out what does Obinna do to relax? How does Obinna relax? Because all work and no play. How do they say it? I've forgotten the last part of it. Damn, I'm getting old. That's been a long time I used that phrase. All work and no play. Monkey they walk, baboon they chop. That's a different one. Man, don't worry. Pretend I didn't say that.
No, wow. No, wow.
But you get the point.
Yeah. What do I do to relax? I think it's not anything exciting. It's like watching TV shows.
That was another question I had.
And I think drawing also is an escape sometimes, where I just like, for me it's a place where I can just zone out and
okay, but couldn't that be tied into work?
It can, but I think it's also like, in terms of relaxing, there's a I'm trying to remember the name. I just learned about this at work, but the term flow state, where you can get in a flow state, and I have to read more about what is exactly, but
Okay.
there's sometimes whenever I'm thinking about, whether it's a new project or idea that I want to like turn into something, and I'm sketching through that, or thinking about it, making notes about it. That helps me relax, because literally I have to dive a little deeper in my head to just focus on that thing, and that feels very relaxing, to just almost be in your own world, and then after like an hour or a couple of hours, it's like, oh, okay, I'm back. But yeah, also watching TV shows is just a fun,
Hey,
fun, chill way to just do nothing.
and sometimes you just, gotta get yourself out of it and just
Exactly.
So what kind of stuff do you like to watch that, takes you out of all the, all the yama yama happening?
Everything is different. Everything from I've anime, but also I recently started watching Donald Glover's new Mr. and Mrs.
I just
Smith.
finished it. It's
I
great.
think I have
Great stuff.
two episodes left.
Great stuff.
That's completely unexpected take on the original.
Oh man,
Really, really
that
good.
was anything Donald that comes from Donald and Stephen Glover.
Yeah.
Mwah.
And Hiro Murai, I think Hiro Murai.
Yeah, Hero Mike.
directed.
They
as
all
well.
they all collab together.
Yeah.
But I know the right Stephen and
His
Donald
brother,
like to write together.
Uh-huh.
Man, because man,
It's so good.
It's so good, man.
so
The
good.
dialogue, man, if you're younger or whatever you are in life,
Uh-huh.
and you're thinking about. I'm talking to the audience now. You're like, I want to get married. I don't know about love. I want to. Don't be listening to these people who are like, if you get you a queen or get you a king and all that hot take, unnecessary hot take. Go and watch the show. It tackles everything from marriage, from the beginning, dating phase into honeymoon phase, and your fighting phase, all that therapy. Oh,
Exactly.
Yeah.
That therapy episode, the way it ended,
yeah.
one of the funniest things I've seen.
Oh
And they
man,
just-
I love Maya Maya Eskin is her name.
she's really good.
She's oh man, I've never seen her in anything before, but she's now one of my new faves.
She was on this show that I think that she either she wrote it and created it. Pen 15.
So I've heard of Pen 15.
Yeah.
I think I'll go watch it now.
It's like she and her co-star, they're so you can tell that it's basically set in like American high school, middle school in the late 90s, early 2000s.
Oh,
And so both of them, I think they're like in their 30s, like in real life. And the other kids that are part of the show, they're actual teenagers, but they dress themselves like teenagers.
oh,
And it's so awkward, but it's done so well. And she's just she's a great actor.
oh! I believe in her now.
Yeah,
I believe
yeah.
in her. She sold me on this show.
Yeah,
I love those two.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh, speaking of anime, I haven't been able to watch anything new. I think the last new stuff I watched was Pluto. But for some reason, I hadn't completed Attack on Titan, so I went and rewatched it
Yeah.
from the beginning, and I'm now at. It ends with this fourth season, right?
Attack on Titan.
Yeah.
I think so. I think so. It's been a while since I watched that one, but
season.
yeah.
And I'm getting close. I'm like, dang, this is too good. It's I'm close to the end.
Yeah.
I'm close to the end. I'm like, damn, maybe I should have done a mini side project on Attack on Titan.
Right.
It's really.
It's such a weird show. Like the premise that these giant titans attack this walled city, and they have to figure it out you know, with these weird contraptions where they're swinging.
I like the way the change
Mm-hmm.
I like the way the story is switched. You know, I wasn't expecting all that.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah, it got me. It
Yeah.
got me. So yeah, I'm like them. There's a whole bunch of animes that I'm missing
Yeah.
out on. Did you see Fargo?
No, I
The
haven't.
fifth
I haven't
season.
yet.
I haven't watched like three and two. I think.
I see.
No, three and four.
Uh-huh.
But you know, it's an anthology each season. But the fifth season, golly, there's some serious acting.
Uh-huh.
John Hamm.
That's right.
Oh, that was the baddies, all the bad folks in there. They were bad. They were acting like serious baddies. I don't know who's my favorite right now, but yeah, that Fargo is quite good.
Nice,
It's very
nice.
good. That was something I just binged. I just binged it. I saw it. I was like, okay, yeah. So
Yeah, like the recently I've it's been like over a decade since I last watched Miyazaki anime.
oh
Hayao
yeah,
Miyazaki.
there was a new one that came out.
Yeah, I think The Boy and the Heron.
Boy and the Heron. Yeah, I thought I would go see that in the theater.
I haven't seen that one, but I went back and watched Princess Mononoke and
That's been a long time. I
why
saw
am I
that one.
blanking on the other one?
Castle in the Sky.
No.
Spirit? Is it Spirit?
Spirited Away.
Yeah.
Yes. And they're still so good.
Yeah, they're
still
really
so good.
They hold up.
Yeah.
They hold up. That's
Yeah.
good quality. Although I was kind of pissed that I think the moment I saw the Boy and the Heron trailer, that I had a feeling that they're going to use that to deny what's it called, Into the Spider-Verse an Oscar.
Oh.
And I think that's what they did. I was like, man, you can't do that. That ain't no movie came close to that for an animated storytelling. I'm sorry. I know he tells great stories, but come on, there's animated movies. That movie is still like way ahead of everybody.
That Into the Spider, like the first Miles Morales one that they did. I saw that with my sister and my cousins, and hands down one of the best movies I've personally seen. Period. Just the style of animation and obviously the story and all of that. But yeah, definitely Oscar worthy in my opinion. If people still care about that stuff.
The second one the second one beat the first.
Beat the first one.
The second one.
I still haven't seen the second one.
I saw the second one twice.
Nice.
And my kid went with me twice because she found out I was going the second time.
Nice.
And at the end, she was dancing in the theater. She wore a costume the first time, but the incorporation, what they did with the art itself, is a whole different category.
Yeah,
because that is almost impossible to do.
Yeah.
So that alone beats every other animated movie. But the storytelling now it's available on Netflix. Yeah, so you can watch it on Netflix.
Yeah.
You're probably gonna cry because I was almost crying because it pulls the heartstrings, but it's great storytelling.
Right.
And it ends on a cliffhanger because if they had said we're taking an intermission, go come back in 10 minutes for the rest of the story, people would I would have done that.
Yeah.
That's how good it was. I was like, man, I didn't even feel time go. I was like, this is great storytelling.
Fantastic.
Because man, they had I don't know how many spider people they had in it, but there was a lot, and they still told a great story. It's a great story. So the kids were enjoying it. Adults were like, dang, I didn't think this would
be like this.
Oh. And amazingly, the same studio, their live action movies that are separate from Marvel is like, I'm like, yeah, y'all make this kind of TRASH.
Right.
Oof, sorry.
Right.
Sorry, but I don't know how y'all get capable of making a great animated movie and then y'all make.
Get that team to do the live action movies.
It's an apology.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. But anyway, before I get to the final questions, what do you think of AI in your space? Because you got three different spaces that some people, AI is too much, AI is this. But yeah, well, how you feel about AI in general in your spaces?
To me, it's just like it's a tool. That's it, and I think it will change a lot, just like the way the internet changed everything. It will change a lot, and I don't know that anyone has a crystal, except for the people who are making it. I don't know that anyone has a crystal ball to see exactly how everything will play out. Like, if you said in 1994 that people knew that an influencer on Instagram would be a profession, like, that's, I don't know the things that are happening with AI now. In 30 years, I don't know that anyone can predict anything, but I think
So let me ask you this way. Well, what about like architecture? When it comes to architecture, how do you see AI in that field?
I mean, right now it's already being used for image generation. So you can put in prompts for a house carved into a cliff, sunset, blah, 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 interior shot with this camera lens, all of that. And it will spit out a very realistic image, and you can hit refresh, or like tweak your prompt, and different things will come out that look very legit. So it's already being used. Companies are already using it for 3D visualizations, for client presentations and things like that. And I think while that is, I think it's a good thing. I think people should embrace it. Just learn how to use it, because if you don't, then you will get left behind.
All right.
So
that's the main thing I was trying to capture there.
Yeah.
Because I've heard some say they feel threatened. Some feel to me, I agree with it being a tool. I just at the end of the day, it depends on what you input.
Yeah.
What the input is.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's that's how I see it.
Exactly.
All right. So I appreciate you, my brother. Thank you for giving me your time. We're still gonna bring you back here again for another episode, because we like having you here.
Thank you. Thank you.
Gotta come talk to us probably before the indie comic show, and before the indie comic show. We'll get you back here with your comic books.
Yes.
So before we get you out of the studio, what's final question? What you like to leave the audience with? Freestyle moment. Don't get people coming in here with touch fire and trying to light the studio up.
Yeah.
But before they do that, still first donate and buy merch, and we got new merch anyway, so you're welcome to do that.
Just keep running the marathon.
Hey,
Just keep running the marathon.
we're not saying have kids, but
Right. That applies to everything.
Life
Everything.
is all a marathon too. So.
Just keep going. Keep going.
But if you have kids, you can name them after me. First, buy my merch.
No
before you
doubt.
do that. Please let the people know where they can find you. If they want to get in touch with your beautiful artwork.
So everything is on. If you just Google Black Robot, BLAK Robot, it's all one word. blackrobot.com. Same thing on Instagram, website, and I'm not on Twitter. I will not call it X.
Same here.
Sorry.
Same here.
But yeah, Black Robot on everything.
All right. And you'll have the links in your show notes. And yeah, thank you again, my brother.
Thank you.
Let me see if I remember how to say thank you in Igbo. Dalu.
Dalu.
Yeah, I always forget it until I eat. I haven't eaten abacha, that's why. Once I ate abacha,
No,
I remember steady.
Yeah.
All right, so let us know if you enjoyed this episode. Share with your friends. Keep support coming in. 5-star reviews. Hey, buy our new t-shirts, mugs, stickers,
share with your friends. Give them, Valentine's just went past, but you can always be somebody's Valentine. So do that. All right. We'll see you at the next episode. Thank you for the privilege of your company. Thanks for listening to White Label American. If you enjoyed the show, please give a 5-star review on your favorite podcast app. You can follow the show on all social media platforms. Visit the White Label American website for links for donations, episodes, feedback, guests, merch, and newsletter. Don't forget to download the free White Label American app on the Google Play Store and Apple coming soon. Thank you for the privilege of your company.